But will Plymouth Argyle be able to turn their away day fortunes around tonight? Well, a trip to Millwall and the Den might not be the ideal place to try and do it. However, Argyle are yet to lose back-to-back games away this season in the Championship. All the build-up is coming your way over the next half an hour here on Argyle TV. Millwall did the double over Argyle last season, but are a place and a point behind the Greens, who will, of course, be looking to get back on track. As always, this is the place to follow all of the action. Hello, good evening. I am Charlie Price, and this is the pre-match show on Argyle TV. Just a few days on from that humbling defeat against Cardiff, Argyle are looking to bounce back, of course, and they're on the road again, swapping the Welsh capital for the English one. And it is a place, sorry for omens here, that Argyle haven't won since 1997. Well, you will, as always, be able to follow all of the action with us here on Argyle TV. Match passes, both audio and video, are available to purchase right now from our website. Head to pafc.co.uk for all of the details around where and when you can listen or watch the game from. Well, joining me in the studio for the next couple of hours is the former Argyle striker Ian Stonebridge. And Ian, I suppose it's the joys of Championship football that you can get back on the horse very quickly after a defeat, and that's exactly what Argyle will be looking to do. Yeah, plenty of games, and as you say, they come thick and fast. Double-edged sword in a way, I guess. Of course, it's a tough trip tonight, and it's another away game, but it's a great chance to put in a more positive performance than the weekend. Yeah, and that is a given. Well, they will need to be a given, won't it, considering what happened at Cardiff just a few days ago? Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously the players will be hurting after that, and they'll be desperate, I'm sure, to put on a better performance. Clearly, it would be fantastic to get a result tonight and get a win, but equally to get something out of the game, I think would also be, you know, obviously an improvement. And given Argyle's good home form recently, it's good to keep chipping away from that if they can turn some of these away trips into some points. Yeah, let's have a look at the side that has been tasked with trying to do just that and get Argyle's first away win of the season. There's the side there on the screen for you now. It shows 3 changes from the game against Cardiff. Callum Wright comes in to the midfield to replace Rami Al-Hajj, of course. Ibrahim Sissoko out suspended. Mustafa Bundu will come in for him, and Ryan Hardy recalled back to the starting lineup at the place of Michael Obafemi, who was on loan at Millwall last season. What do you make of that, Ian? Yeah, interesting changes. I think you know, there's lots of speculation, I think, about the shape sometimes and the personnel. Perhaps, you know, we can kind of envisage the Argyle playing their usual shape with those changes. Perhaps Bundu out on the left and Callum Wright maybe off the front, or maybe as part of a slightly deeper midfield 3. And of course, Ryan Hardy will be looking to stretch the Millwall backline. Yeah, I suppose Hardy was probably the one you'd expect would come back in. There was a debate over who comes in for Sissoko, and you know, Rooney chucked some names around. Isaka and Tegan Finn were mentioned. Probably would have been a bit harsh to put them in this sort of environment tonight. It's only Bundu's second start in the league this season. He does offer that physical sort of aspect to the game, which could well be something that's needed today. Do you see it almost being like for like from Cardiff in terms of formation-wise, or is there flexibility there? Yeah, it's interesting. I think sometimes the management may have something, you know, some little tweaks that maybe we won't be aware of until the game starts. Obviously, there might be tactical aspects in the way that they've seen Millwall play that mean they adjust that. So I think, you know, the obvious bit is the JB and Randall as a deeper line midfield, perhaps with Callum Wright in front. But equally, there's that flexibility in there that could look different, and you know, Mustafa Bundu could play up front, and we could see a 2. It would be perhaps brave, but then how the team kind of set up behind that can dictate it. And I think with Ryan Hardy coming in, clearly he's going to need to kind of threaten in behind and stretch the Millwall backline. Equally, I think certainly the last home game, Obafemi did brilliantly at holding the ball up and getting Argyle up the pitch, and perhaps Ryan Hardy has a tougher time doing that. So it will be interesting to see. I think it's really important that Whittaker and Bundu get in and around Ryan Hardy, you know, whenever they can. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about the striker's role. Obviously, you know, you played up front for Argyle over 200 times, so you kind of are a good person to ask on this. How do you potentially see it happening today? Because as you've mentioned, Hardy's not necessarily that hold-up player. Will Argyle have to go beyond that?
Yeah, potentially. That the obvious threat is with his pace. He's intelligent with his runs, but the key thing there is unless you're putting him in on goal, you do need then players to get close to him and in and around him as well. So it's a hard one to say. It's not that we're saying Argyle are going to just launch it long and stick it in the channel. As you know, I've chased many a ball in the channel in my time. Not complaining about that at all.
Did well when that ball was played in the channel sometimes, didn't we?
It could be that Argyle do look slightly longer, but as we said, it's vital when that happens, they get players in and around, because otherwise, being away from home, if we do set up slightly deeper, that makes it harder to get closer to the ball, and obviously gives opposition more time when they're playing back out.
Yeah, Hardy just the one goal so far in the league this season. He'll be looking to improve that tonight. Let's have a look at the Millwall side then. They got a point in their last game, and the man who gave it to them, Ivanovic, comes in for his first league start. He takes the place of Langstaff, who drops to the bench. Neil Harris has made just one other change, with Femi Aziz coming in for Duncan Watmore, who's not involved at all. And there are, of course, two very familiar names in that back four, with Ryan Leonard and Joe Bryan having both played for Argyle. We were going to pick up on Duncan Watmore and the way he plays. He's their top scorer this season. He actually did really well in the game at Home Park against Argyle last year. But I suppose the interesting thing is seeing, a 19-year-old Ivanovic coming in up front for his first league start. He's warranted it, clearly. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it was a really cool finish, really composed. I think he ran through from the halfway line, his finish at the weekend. In lots of ways, it's harder when you have all that time to think, but he rounded the keeper, made it look really easy. So he's earned his place in that respect. I thought the kind of front four they tend to play with Honeyman off the striker. He's always keen to run, past the striker, whoever that may be. He's a dangerous player. He's clever on the ball, but certainly the two wide players as well. There was some excellent link up and interchange of positions really with the Millwall front line. So it's definitely something that Argyle are going to have to be aware of. And as we say, whether we see Adam Randall and JB playing, as a deeper two, or whether there's one of them who's taking up a slightly deeper role, certainly between them and the defenders, they'll have to look after Honeyman. He could be a real danger. Yeah,
they've actually, and listening to a lot of people who've seen Millwall this season, even watching their games, they've changed the way they play a bit this year. They've always been renowned for being quite physical and direct and what have you. But you mentioned Honeyman, very good footballer. Ivanovic is not that big burly striker that young Fleming potentially was last year. Aziz and Esse are like technical players.
Yep.
So it's going to be a different sort of threat. But we know that they have it with the likes of Leonard and Tanganga and Cooper if they get that set piece opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even at the back it was quite expansive. You looked at Bryan and Leonard, they found themselves high up the pitch, and Derby in lots of ways were able to exploit that and counter-attack in quite a productive way. So it'll be interesting to see if they're as adventurous. You'd expect them to be. It's their home game. They'll certainly be going out looking for 3 points. So as I say, maybe that's something where Argyle are thinking about. Bundu's threat maybe on the counter-attack, Hardy's pace as being ways that we might be able to exploit that.
Yeah, Mustafa Bundu there could well be of interest too. We know what he can do. We saw it in big moments at the end of last season. Well, let's try and find out what is in the mind of Wayne Rooney, shall we? He, of course, will be hoping his side can put in a better performance than they did just 4 days ago. Here he is speaking to me a little bit earlier this week. Is it as simple as just saying, it's done, forget about it? Or do you go, it's done, we need to learn from that?
Yeah, of course you need to learn from it. And, we had the first game of the season as well. And you no doubt whatsoever, you have to learn from it. Sometimes it's a good reminder as well, I think, because we've been doing really well. We've had some really good performances, but it's a reminder that, we are where we are and we have to keep our focus every minute of every game. Otherwise, results like that will happen. So, yeah, it's disappointing, frustrating, but, you know, that's not going to help us in this game on Wednesday. We have to now put our focus on Wednesday.
You know, once again, we spoke about it after the game against Cardiff, and you know, we say it quite often. There'll be a large following of Argyle supporters at the Den on Wednesday. There's quite a lot of Argyle supporters that live in and around London. And you and Joe both mentioned after the game about just giving them something, owing them a performance, what have you. How much is that maybe a little bit of motivation?
Yeah, no, I think we're motivated. So I think we're always motivated to try and win games. But yeah, no, you know, we look at the fans and the away form since I've been here, and even before I was here, which I hear hasn't been great. So, but the fans are still there, they're still behind the team, supporting the team, and we know they're spending a lot of money. We know they're travelling a lot of miles to get behind the team, and we just hope that hopefully Wednesday we can give them something to enjoy the journey back with. So, yeah, we're trying everything. You know, we're looking at everything we can to try and improve the away form, and we hope that can start on Wednesday.
Let's talk about Millwall. You know, how do you see them? Where are they at?
Yeah, they're a good team. They're slightly different to what they have been over the last few years. They're maybe not as direct as they was, but they play with a lot of intensity. They try and, you know, run all over you, if you like. Rely a lot on second balls as well. So yeah, we know it's going to be a difficult game. The atmosphere there, if you allow the crowd to take part in the game, can be very hostile as well. So yeah, from our point of view, we have to go with our game plan, which obviously we'll be working on today and tomorrow, to try and get that right for this game on Wednesday. But yeah, we're expecting a tough game.
The away form, Ian, we do have to talk about. I think obviously people have been discussing it over the last couple of days, but it's not new. If you look over the last 2 seasons, we've only won 3 away games, 3 away wins last season, none so far this year. Just the 1 point, just the 1 goal. Now, for us mere mortals who've never set foot on a football field, and I asked Wayne this question as well, what is the difference playing home and away? I know you're in a different environment. You're not in your home changing room and you're not on your pitch. You've got fewer fans. But can that make that much of a difference? Or is there something else in it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it clearly does make a difference.
We can see that.
I think there's, it's not just Argyle. I think there's, there's
right.
other stats on other, normal teams, if you like, that don't travel as far as we do. And we often talk about it being a psychological thing, playing away from home. But I'm sure it does. Players aren't aware of it. It's not made explicit. It's not something that you talk about as being different. Maybe sometimes teams will have different tactical approaches. Don't necessarily see that hugely in the current side. Certainly in the when I played under Paul Sturrock, he came up with a different system. We tried to fix. We hadn't won away from home for 18 months, I think it was. Away at York, he came up with this different system. Mickey Evans was a big part of that as a real focal point up front. And I think maybe that change of system and getting a win allowed a kind of nice clean break. So we talk about psychology, but I think there's a cultural aspect as well to the whole thing as a club. It's not just the players that travel, it's the staff, it's the fans. We all do the travelling together, and I think it over time, maybe when you're on a negative run, it builds up into maybe and becomes a self-reinforcing thing. So I certainly hope they've put in good performances this year. You look at Burnley and West Brom, close games where arguably on another day Argyle might have got at least a point, or if not more. So there is something in it. I think sometimes we've got to be careful not to make more of it than it is, but the change in scenery and the travelling does obviously affect that.
Yeah, and the travel is a big thing. I don't think the players will ever admit that they might, be tired after a long journey or not recover well enough or what have you. They'll never ever say that, and probably it might not make a difference. But if you are looking to try and think of an excuse or a reason, then that clearly could well be one that maybe doesn't get spoken about because it's too much of an excuse. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
and could be looked that way.
Definitely, I think and anything where you kind of portray yourself to be weak or a weakness, it can be jumped upon, and it's not the way that we talk, is it? As footballers or as football fans, we want that, want that intensity, we want that high energy level. So again, all of that means you kind of, I guess, put on a brave face, but clubs have to find ways of managing that. And Argyle, I think, over the years have tried different things. I think Sturrock, as well as changing that formation, we changed the way we travelled. So we would then, I think, train later on a Friday and travel later on a Friday. with the idea that we would then get to the hotel and essentially go straight to bed. But yeah, it obviously does take it out of you. I'm interested, I guess, as whether the club would have the data on that as well. So, you know, sports science is not necessarily my expertise, but in terms of the data around physical performance in the games, you know, heart rate data, the GPS stuff. So they must know something about whether there are differences in what the players are able to do after a long trip, for example. And again, I'm sure at times they maybe make changes to account for that. But yeah, it's I'm sure we'll continue talking about it. But again, I think I'd like to say let's you know, we can change the story and as a club, yeah.
Let's hope we don't have to talk about it for a while, because we win tonight and then we win the next couple of away games and what have you. Well, one thing that Wayne Rooney mentioned there, and you know, I think it's been clear, is that the two of the away games have been emphatic defeats. But you mentioned it, you know, the West Brom and Burnley ones, really difficult away games, well in those games. You know, maybe not the plethora of chances that we see at home, but decent openings. QPR again, you know, the sendings off, completely like an anomaly, an outlier. So it's not as if it's every single away game has been really, really, really bad, has it?
No, definitely not.
There's no reason why it would be the same tonight. Maybe.
No, you can point to, you know, Sheffield Wednesday, we'll scratch that first game of the season, you know, new manager, getting to know the league, getting to know the players. You know, beyond that, if you look at the Cardiff game, but for that moment, the red card incident, you know, there's still a chance to get back in that game, and it's a very different complexion than the emphatic win for Cardiff it turned out to be. So, yeah, it's those moments that can change things, and I think maybe as well the factor of in the Championship, it's a higher level than Argyle has maybe been used to over the recent years and recent seasons, and so again, those moments that turn on you are punished, and the clinical finishing, you know, playing playing with 10 men rather, you know, is that much more challenging than maybe in those lower leagues. Yeah.
Message here: keep the faith, because tonight could be the night. Let's hope. Right, let's touch on the opponents, Millwall, for just a moment. They had a battling point against Derby at home over the weekend. Here's the best of the action.
Finding comfort in passing back to Curtis Nelson. Cash in. Battling away. Millwall have got it though. Here's now George Honeyman, takes it first time. Stings the palms of Zetterstrom, who denies him. Moore has also said as well that they should be fourth in the league, that they should have got more points at home. Only wins have come at this place against Sheffield Wednesday and Preston. Watmore into McCauley, Langstaff, and it's hit the base of the post. There's now Aziz, is a tricky customer. Right-footed ball in. Cashin Terrace, Saville, Essay. Rolls on through to Zetterstrom, who dies on the ball. And who won the corner, Mendes line. Takes it. By Millwall, Jerry Yates onto it, and it's gone over the line and in! It's been long overdue, but finally, the run is over for Jerry Yates! Remember, they're the only side in the Championship going into this weekend to not get a single point away from home. It might just be not just getting one, but maybe three. It's now broken for Ivanovic. He's going to have to go it alone. Has he got the confidence to go on his own? He has! And Millwall love it! Nelson's clearance bounced off Essay. It broke through to Ivanovic, who rounded Zetterstrom. As the full-time whistle sounds, it's a point apiece here at the Den.
Yeah, that was that 1-1 draw against Derby, and that finish you were talking about from Ivanovic, who gets his first start today. We're going to have to hope we don't give him that much space, but you know, he'll be flying, won't he? After that first goal, now first start.
Yeah, I think there's that, if you like, the freedom when you maybe first break into a team, or when the pressure's off once you've scored a goal. You know, you can really relax, and maybe that next game is almost like a free hit. He'll obviously be desperate to put in a good performance and get another goal, but it's the pressure's off in a way, particularly with strikers in that respect. So yeah, not an appealing idea for Argyle to be up against him, but you know, I'm sure that they can deal with him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you flip that round, he has only got one goal and he's inexperienced and what have you. Let's claw on to that.
Absolutely.
I just want to talk a little bit about their form this season. You know, they struggled last year, But when Neil Harris took over, I think with a couple of months to go, they really put on a really good run of form and were pretty much clear of relegation heading into the last couple of matches. They obviously beat Argyle late on. Now, they've not started this season particularly strongly again. And, you know, they're a bit like Argyle. They're conceding quite a few goals. They haven't conceded more than one, actually, since the first couple of matches. But in those, it was 5 and 4. Yeah. A bit like Argyle, actually. But they don't seem to keep clean sheets, too. So, is it going to be a 0-0 today, probably?
You've cursed it, not me. Yeah, it is interesting when you look at the run of results. And again, we say it all the time, don't we? The Championship, it seems to be a strange league. Everyone can beat everyone. You look at those opening results, loads of goals going in, you know, conceding them, but they also were scoring plenty at that point. And then since then, it does seem that they've been able to tighten up. So you kind of, I guess, read into that to see that the manager is now has had time to work with the players. You know, the squad's starting to get used to the approach that he's looking for, and you know, seems to perhaps be putting it into practice slightly better. Although, as you say, they still find themselves in a area of the league where they won't want to be.
Yeah. How do you see it going then tonight, or maybe what do you want to see from Argyle this evening? Yeah,
the first thing is always you want Argyle to be on the front foot. You look at a couple of certainly the first couple of goals against Cardiff, and there was a lack of closing down. There was a lack of intensity of physical competition from Argyle, really, and that should really be the thing you're able to do regardless of anything else. You know, you can forgive people making a mistake or missing a chance, but getting close to a player should be something that they're able to do. So first and foremost, I think it's that. Can they compete right at the start of the game? And also then start to get the ball to the players that we know could hurt Millwall in those good areas. So, you know, can they get the ball forward into that channel for Hardy to make a run onto? Whittaker, can we get the ball into his feet, and Bundu in and around Hardy to try and make something happen?
Well, let's hope they can. Just under 1,500 Argyle supporters at the Den tonight. Another amazing following on a midweek fixture. Let's hope we have something to cheer about. We are pretty much ready to hand away for commentary. So if you haven't already, do go and get your match passes. Audio match passes can be bought for people in the UK. They're just £2.50. Whereas video match passes, streaming passes can be purchased from the rest of the world. They'll cost a tenner, and all of the details will be found on our website. Carl Dugard, the former Argyle captain, and Harry Salvage are standing by for commentary, and it's to the Den we're going to head to next. Argyle at Millwall. Can they get that win?